All right, so let's get started. If you do, we're really quite relaxed on this, I would say, DPRG. So just speak up and be welcome. So tonight, what the idea was we could start off with a kind of a round table, and we'll just take like with 14 people in the line. If we just take a minute or two and try and hold to that, if you don't have anything really prepared, just to give an idea of what are you working on, if you've got some cool robot projects or something related to robots, or if you've got some questions you want to ask about later on, and then ad hoc presentations. If you have something you want to take 5 or 10 or 15 minutes that you think people might like, just speak up and we'll set that time aside in the middle. Ray has something because he's a robot mower guy, so I'm sure it'll be interesting to see his mower there in his office. I have some filler if anyone's interested in BLE kinds of. I took a diversion in the last week on some BLE stuff, little beacons and actually a Bluetooth watch I got off a Kickstarter. And then towards the end, we'll just have an open mic, and we'll try this new section out. We kind of have it in our in-person meetings, but we haven't really tried it online yet. So I thought we'd call it Stump the Club. So you got some of the regulars from the club here, a lot of great experience. And if there's a project, you're on a roadblock or something, let's throw the questions out and see if we can't point you in a good direction. Or if it's too involved, we can arrange a sidebar session. And having said that, if anyone has any ad hoc presentations you want to give, just if you could put it in chat, I'll catch it and add it to the list. Otherwise, what I'd like to do is just kind of work down the list here. And Alan, if you don't mind, you're at the top there. Would you like to take a moment or two and just give a description of what projects you're working on to stave off cabin fever? Or if you'd rather not start, just say pass and we'll move on to someone else.
I just found the unmute button, so I think I'm there.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, it's been about 1.5 years since I went to one of the clubs in Plano. But you give me 1 minute. So I've been messing around with bipedals. I really am starting from scratch. I'm an absolute newbie. But I started off with, you know, the 9G servos that you get from Micro Center. And I put them into the shape of a robot using Python. One of the guys in your club suggested I learn Python. Fantastic. Love it. But obviously the 9G servos are extremely limited, and you really get, yeah, I know. So I looked at a guy's website called James Bruton, and he does very comprehensive 5-foot tall robots. So I'm starting to look at something a little bit more comprehensive using, I'm not even too sure what I'm going to call it. It's not a servo, but he's got ball bearing joints or ball joints, and he's using drills to actually move a joint in any direction. So I've started looking at his stuff. It's a little bit beyond me, but I'm really starting from scratch. That's it for me.
Well, that sounds pretty cool. And if you're going to dive in, I mean, there's no way to dive in like a biped.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll go on mute. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, any questions or sure? I mean, that's I'm sure you get a lot of interest in the club to help with that.
Hey, Alan.
Yes.
Yeah. Could you put the link in chat for that guy's website that's doing the joints with drill motors?
Sure. Let me go and find it.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Thanks. So Clay, how's it been going for you? I gather that you've got a number of things you've been working on last week.
Not so much robot related. Did a little house cleaning, and I found a large box of VHS tapes, and most of them are old DPRG. So if anybody has capability to digitize these, that would be great. I do have a digitizer myself, but it's pretty crappy. It usually gets the audio and video out of sync. At least it did last time I tried. Taking an online happiness course, binge watching Westworld on HBO, and I'm taking an online Python class, and I had a second job interview yesterday.
Woohoo! Very good. Congratulations. Let's chat offline, because it's been a few years since I've done the VHS digitizing, but I think I still have the gear. So yeah, cool. All right, thanks.
Clay, do you know if there was a period in DPRG's history where one of the members, who was a professional videoteer, essentially copyrighted a whole bunch of tapes of competitions and sold them. Is this by any chance those? Because I don't know if we could digitize those without permission.
Yes, these were made by the professional videographer Cynthia Rivers, and I know Cynthia, so I was just going to digitize them for my own use, but I will reach out and contact Cynthia. I think these are so old. I think we could probably get permission to, I
would love to put that in the archives. Get them up on YouTube or someplace.
Yeah, I'm not going to buy a 1997 VHS tape anymore, so hopefully we can secure digital rights to those from Cynthia. I'll check.
And for what it's worth, Clay, I also can do that, but that equipment's getting so old. I'm not sure how. I'm like you. I'm not sure how good it is anymore. But I do have a setup to be able to digitize that.
Cool. All right. Good deal. So David, should we hold off on yours and then let you do that when we spend more time on your project? Just go through everyone else first. Okay.
I think he's still muted. I can't hear him.
Yeah, or something. Okay. Well, David, we'll come.
Are you referring to David Melbourne?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dave Melbourne. So why don't we come back to you and Ray, hold you guys for the end, okay?
That's fine.
Okay, cool. So Doug, in the last week, have you been making any progress or just?
No, I'm not in robots this week. I've been making face masks. So,
oh boy.
So mainly sewing. So
where have you found some good resource for that, both materials and plans?
Well, I have a friend who's a quilter, and she gave me a pile of material, and I got what seems to be a very good design for a mask off of the web. I'll put it on here in a little bit, but it's so I've been trying to make one for each one of my kids' families and some of my brothers and sisters, and it's been pretty encompassing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I've by the way, I've been collecting a bunch of different links, and I'll see if I can dig out when there's a quiet time here, and I'll post in the chat a link on DMS Talk, which is open to the public, and there's a bunch of really interesting, varied ideas, like everything from using the HEPA bag from a vacuum cleaner to the media from one of the high quality HVAC filters, all the way to the CDC's recommendation of folding T-shirts with gum bands. So
yeah, but one of the ones that's a little overlooked, Carl, is shop tiles. Those blue shop tiles that you can.
Yeah, blue shop tiles. Yeah, those are too.
They're not cloth. They're I forget the name, but they're basically a plastic, so they can be washed,
Yeah.
and they're actually pretty effective.
Yep. Okay, here's a link I just posted, and then if someone could look at the chat online, Josh has a question about a Micro Center item, asking whether it's worth it for a newbie. So if someone could just answer that, it'd be cool. Okay, thanks, Doug. So Harold, welcome aboard, and you happen to be next in line. Do you want to take a minute or two and just briefly summarize what you've been doing the last week? Harold, you might be muted. I think you are muted. No,
Hello?
I'm unmuted.
Yeah, technology is a wonderful thing.
Welcome back.
Sure.
Yes, so Harold, what you been up to? Good project time or distracted?
Well, it depends on what you define as distractive. I've been doing not a whole lot on the project stuff. I did manage to unbox my Latte Panda and plug it in and see a window screen come up. But for the most part, I'm changing clients. And so, so I've got a, like say Saturday, I had to just disconnect from everything because I was pretty much burnt. And I've got a client ending this Friday, and I got a client starting next Monday, and they're expecting me to know React, TypeScript, Material, .NET Core, and Event Store, and a few other things that I have no idea what all those things are. Actually,
Oh my goodness.
I know what all of those things. Well, Event Store I don't, because it's new technology for all of us. But I haven't done very much React at all. I mean, like, I know how to spell React, and that's about as close as it comes. So I've been spending every waking moment. In fact, after I get through talking here for a little bit, I've got to jump off this and get on to more Pluralsight videos and things and that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Cool. Okay. Hey, well, good luck with that. And I don't know, between you get an excellent searcher, but between you and Ron Dagdag, I'll bet you're covered. But maybe I might have some React materials that could help. We'll see.
Okay.
But you're probably ahead of me anyhow. So okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. So Mr. Jack Jones, what are you up to?
Yeah, unfortunately, I've had a lot of exams and tests and stuff coming up, so I haven't really gotten to do anything robotics-wise.
Bummer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All these weeks come along, but they'll pass.
Mm-hmm.
That's the joy of college, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's online college.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, let's move on. So, Josh, how about you? Been working on any projects you'd like to talk about this week? I think you're muted. Okay. So, oh, there you go.
Still working on my robot that I brought to club, but I'm having trouble getting started. I really wanted to have it to be able to be remote controlled and self-driving, so just been hunting around on the web to see what to buy next.
Okay. Are you looking for some advice on anything? Is there a particular roadblock you want to talk about later in the meeting?
No, not really. Just remember that blue tank robot I brought to club right before we got shut down.
Yeah.
Is what I'm working on. So I've got a 12-volt sealed lead battery to power it up and just working away at it.
Cool. All righty. Well, don't be a stranger. If you get stuck, we'll be glad to give you a hand.
Okay.
Yep. Thanks. Hey, so Mr. Kareem, how about you? Have you been gainfully busy or just trying to keep your sanity in other ways?
I've been pretty busy with work, so I haven't had a chance to do enough on robotics. I've been still trying to keep my high school robotics team going, and with virtual meetings, it's pretty difficult trying to act as the only hands in the house that have access to the robot to make any progress on it.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to act as their hands. They're still doing a lot of 3D modeling and such, and so I'm either running the 3D printer or running the CNC machine, or trying to do some robot assembly, or acting as their testing hands when they try to do some coding. So they submit new code on GitHub, and I'll pull it down and push it onto the robot, and we'll try it out, and we'll use stuff like this to let them see what's happening. And it's just really, really slow going. We would have been, had it not been canceled, the World's Championship would have been next Saturday, and so we would have been in our final big push at this point. But we're so far behind where we wanted to be. We still wanted to release a reveal video that describes what the robot does and demonstrates it. And all they were able to pull together so far was like an April 1st spoof reveal video, which we released. But it was just we're not an effective team in this virtual environment. It's going to take a while to get effective at that, I guess.
Well, it sounds like it's a good effort anyhow, and I'm sure the kids appreciate it.
One of the things, if anybody wants to comment on, is I've been looking up USB tunneling devices. Our robots have an autonomous period followed by a driver control period. And we have a way to, once we get USB input to a laptop nearby that's connected over Wi-Fi Direct, that I can send those commands to the robots. But the next stage is to get a virtual virtual USB connection over the internet, so that the kids, while watching on a Zoom video or something like that, can be driving the robot with their remote controls in their house. So if anybody has any good leads on good software for that, I'd be happy for the input.
Huh? Maybe somebody does. What about changing the idea just a little bit and then just exposing like an API? So use HTTP calls instead of a driver tunnel.
Yeah, no, that's certainly a possibility. Ultimately, well, that would just sort of move where the client is, right? So I guess that would move the client to their laptop. It would still end up being like there is a control protocol, but just I don't know that really changes the problem a whole lot.
Bummer.
I mean, it would give us more control over it, right? But then we'd have to write our own client for it.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, so
there are some products like that. We just haven't had much, progress in testing them and seeing how it works. There's something called WRT, which might be what we're looking for.
Yeah. Have you ever heard the term smart hands?
No.
I think I heard it in the IT space, and it's where the people that know what's going on are in the head office, and then the person in the field with the hands is called smart hands, because they're smart enough to know a little bit, but the real control is in the head office where you're. So I think you're being the smart hands for your kids.
That's pretty much right. Yeah.
We'll just call you Mr. Smart Hands from now on, if that's okay.
Maybe not so smart, but hands anyhow.
No, give yourself some credit. Okay, thanks, Kareem. So, hi, Lauren, welcome. So, have you by any chance been working on some robot-y related things, or other stuff that you'd like to talk about here? And I think you're on mute at the moment, so you might need to unmute. There you go.
Okay, so I'm pretty much just picking up robotics again as a hobby. I was doing it before, like when I was in college, but since I moved to Texas, I haven't picked it up much. But I do coach 2 teams, like one Vets Robotics and one Lego Mindstorms. But now that those seasons are over, I'm trying to pick up the hobby of robotics and different things now.
Well, that's cool. Do you have any projects in particular that you're do you have a target you're working on?
Right now, just relearning how to program. I just got an Arduino yesterday, so.
Cool. So, yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of guys online here, a lot of people online that are more than happy to help if you get stuck with anything. So, you know, anything from good ideas of where to look for little projects, or if you hit a roadblock, just please reach out and we'll see if we can help you.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Okay, so next in the list, Pete Bryson, welcome. By any chance, is there a project you've been working towards, or anything you'd like to talk about? And I think you're on mute. Still on mute. See if I can. Oh, there we go. Am I unmuted? I don't know if I can unmute you. So, can see you, Pete, but we can't hear you.
You can't unmute somebody else.
I guess not. It's too bad.
How's that?
Oh, that'll work, Pete. Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Okay.
So how you doing? What's going on?
Pretty good. No projects. I was just thinking about joining. Had a quick question about if anybody's been in Tanner's lately. Does know anything about discounts or anything, or if it's going to close early, or?
There's a number of Tanner's regulars on the line, but I know I haven't been there for a month. Has anyone else been there lately? They count themselves essential, or are they? Any idea? Anybody?
Last I knew, they were closed until the orders of stay in place are lifted. The best place to follow along is probably on their Facebook page, Tanner Electronics, and you can message them there. I have not talked to them personally recently.
Do you think they're going to go to 50% off or anything, 90% off or anything like that?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I know they had to be out by June 1st out of their, their current location. So I guess that gives Lee 2 months, right? Month and a half.
Yeah.
One quick question. Is there another store around that's equivalent to Tanner's?
BG Micro has some things, but not nearly as much as Tanner's, I would say. And BG Micros, you can get stuff online. Well, you can show up there and pick things up, but for the most part, it's it's mail order.
Okay.
Or would you say, would anyone agree Micro Center for certain things might have some overlap?
Yeah, Micro Center is probably the best commercial. I mean, I know Tanner's was commercial too, but I mean, the best retail outlet that you can get here right now. As long as they keep their hobby section going, it's actually pretty complete. It's if you wanted to go in and buy just like 2 resistors like you could in Tanner, that's going to be hard to do. You're probably going to have to buy kits and stuff to do that sort of stuff. So it's going to be a big loss to the community.
On the flip side, I'll tell you, I've had pretty good luck with Amazon, actually.
Yeah, I buy all my screws there now. So
They will be missed.
All right. I've been talking too much, so I think, Pete, anything else?
Does Dale Wheat ever show up anymore?
occasionally, but I haven't seen him in, say, the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was he kind of the expert on the ST Micro demo boards?
There's other people who have some knowledge on that. Dave Ackley is pretty knowledgeable on those.
I think Doug Ames is as well.
Yeah, so I mean, there are a few there that could help you if you're just using it. If you're just using what do they call it, ST Arduino or something like that, that's pretty. I think a lot of people could help you with that. But if you're going to actually do really hardcore ARM programming, that cuts the number down quite a bit.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Cool. Okay, well, thanks, Pete. So let's do this then. If I missed, I don't think I've missed anybody. Have speak up. I think since not, let's move into some kind of ad hoc presentations. And I think Ray, you were going to talk about something related to robot mowers.
Yep. Okay, so I'm assuming I just hit present now and start with the slide.
You hit present now, and then we all find your presentation if it doesn't just jump out.
Okay. Okay.
And we can.
There. Let's meet. Choose what you'd like to share. Okay.
If you're like me, you take your whole screen because it's easy.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. You're presenting to everyone. Okay.
Yep. There we go.
Okay. Can you see that?
Looks good.
Oh, you can see it. Okay.
I can see it. And by the way, if anybody can't see it, just shout out or hit the chat or something.
Oops. Okay, so this can be said a couple different ways. Oh, robot mowers if you're interested in it, and oh god, robot mowers if you're not. So it can be taken several ways. This is actually one of the platforms that I've been working on, and this was actually just a push mower, and it was kind of interesting. A lot of the parts mechanically just came together very easily. It's like for example, the little excuse me, toy motors had like 6 splines coming out of it. It happened to mesh perfectly with those wheels that came off a mower and that weren't meant to be hooked up to the little toy motors. So let's see if I have a mouse. Okay, I do. So kind of the individual components of this, this is just a lead acid battery from Walmart's. It's actually a riding mower battery. These are the 2 toy motors, and I put encoders on them. I 3D printed, encoders for them. It's Arduino based, the Arduino Mega. I think it's the VNH 5019 motor driver board is sitting on top of the Mega. And let's see, up here is a Pixie Cam. So those are the main components of it. It is differential drive. There's I replaced the front wheels with casters. You can kind of see one here. This also has a you can't see it's up on this the handle that's up over here somewhere. It's a first-person view setup, so it has a video camera, a transmitter, and then the other end of that is a receiver and a little, a small LCD display. So if I ever want to take over and drive myself, I can see what it's doing and where it's going without having to, actually see, the robot, I guess in person. So anyway, so I was kind of curious. I was thinking this wasn't very expensive, and then was quite surprised after, if you had to buy all these components, how much it would actually cost you. So The mower and the battery came from Walmart's. The mower was 168, battery 25. These toy car motors, it was a curbside find. I think once the batteries wear out, usually it finds itself to the curb. I don't know that a lot of people replace the batteries in these things. So that's where I got the toy car motors from. It's like a little ride-on toy, for a little kid. So they have enough torque though. You figure it's going to be pushing maybe a 40 or 50-pound kid down a sidewalk. So it's got enough, torque to push the mower even up a slight grade, which I was really surprised by the amount of torque that they produce. The Mega, you can get those at Micro Center, about $11. The motor driver was from Polulu. It's $50 retail, although I think probably a lot of people in the club wait for the Black Friday sale and get pretty good discounts on it. It's also been given away as prizes for the club. There's a little DC to DC converter because the linear regulator on the Arduinos and the Megas don't really like to work at, like lead acid, fully charged battery voltages. So PixieCam, I have the older one. I don't even see where you can buy it anymore. The Pixie 2 is actually the $60. So a grand total of $345 if you had to buy all the stuff. But I figured a lot of people had a push mower, maybe even a riding mower battery, and a lot of these other components because they're pretty common, things to have. When using the PixieCam, there were kind of like two different modes that I wanted to control this thing in. And at first I didn't have the panoramic camera or lens. I actually took, it's actually an LED lantern, and tried to make one. And it works okay, but it's not like you can specify what the optics are. You pretty much just have to use what you have. If anybody knows of a source of these, and I'll show you what they would look like later on here, I would definitely like to hear from you. Anyway, there are trade-offs between the two. The panoramic lenses, this one you can see kind of in a circle, 360 degrees. That's kind of nice. You only have to have one camera. But it shrinks the size of everything, including whatever markers you're looking for. And in my case, they're just brightly colored orange poster board, or I guess you'd consider it like a roadside cone, although it's not like a conic shape. It's, I don't know, kind of a rectangular shape. The kind of the disadvantage of the normal lenses is that you can't really see that far. They don't, and normal is basically, I guess it's the amount of magnification in the field of view of humans. So if the lens is actually around that, I think they consider it a normal lens. But you need, two servos or some other mechanism to move the camera around to be able to see what a panoramic lens would see. I had two guidance methods, and the first one is a simpler one. A lot of the code was just from, can soccer and 6-can routine. So it was very, very easy. I knew they worked. And so I have what I call two rovers, or two robot platforms with the cone or the big sheets of, I guess it's like fluorescent orange construction paper on them, and then the mower. And basically, you would, start the thing off. You would set up the mower between the two rovers, one in front and one mowing row. well, you can set it right behind it, or you can set it one mowing row over. And so the mower would use the rover in front of it to steer towards. And then once it gets to it, it would use the size of the blob. You just set a threshold. If it goes over that, it starts to rotate or do a basically spin on one wheel or the other, 180-degree turn. And it would look for the other rover. Well, it would actually signal the rover to move up 2 rows, and then start looking for the other rover and head towards it. So it's pretty simple, but it's pretty effective. And I had some videos and then made some changes to the thing, and lost a bunch of stuff on a phone, and so I don't have a video of that, but I can probably get one together and show you guys later on. Number 2 was to use the panoramic lens and triangulation to position the robot between 2 fixed markers, or 2 of the cones, or whatever you want to call them. So I kind of made a panoramic camera out of the PixieCam parts from an LED lantern. I took the reflector out of it and the clear plastic tube, and I have a picture of it, and a 3D printer, a 3D printed adapter. Can you see that?
Looks good.
Okay, so here's the PixieCam in the bottom, and it's pointing straight up. Well, in this case, it's shifted over a little bit, but there's it's kind of like a conical shaped modified cone reflector on the top, and this is it's just a plastic tube basically. So that's kind of nice. You don't have to have something that obstructs the view of the camera to support this. And it's a little crude, but I took some measurements, and I actually put this reflector a little too high up. So the camera with the lens on it, and actually this lens came from the Google, what was it, an AY, I forget.
The Google AIY, the Movidius machine vision thing, neural net.
Yeah, that's actually the lens that came with that. And it's the wide angle and the macro screwed together to produce a pretty wide angle lens. Anyway, so my 2 markers are this is that construction paper, and this is the one to the left, and this is where the camera is, and oops, I guess. Oh well, I guess you can't go back. I'll exit and come back in. Anyway, so that was the right marker, which is actually in my bathroom. It's just hanging on the doorknob with a coat hanger. And these are about 20 feet apart, maybe just a little over, maybe 21 feet. And so this is the image that you get out of the PixieCam, and you can see that it found the 2 markers. So what I can do is use, whatever pixel this happens to be it's not quite in the center, but I can use it as a reference and figure out what angles, these 2 are appearing in this part of the image, and use that to, do triangulation. And the adapter that I made was a little bit too tall, and so it pushed the reflector a little too far up. I actually need to bring it down a little bit because light's escaping around it. So that's what this halo or ring is, and it's actually looking, that's the light from the ceiling fan. There's one of the ceiling fan blades, and you don't really want to see that. You want to fill this center part of the image as much as you can on the screen. I have a little bit on either side to be able to do that. So if anybody knows of a type of lens like this, hopefully much smaller, if you can, put a note in the chat or something, that would be great, because I've been looking for something like this for a while, and so instead of having to tear apart like something else that was made for some other purpose, if I could find a lens that would do this, it would be great.
Ray, there are some commercial ones out there. I don't know them offhand, but I've seen them at CES and some other places. And they're small. They're like in the scale of a couple of inches, not like that thing.
Okay, but what was the?
No,
where did you see that?
I saw them at the Consumer Electronics Show a few years back.
Oh, Consumer Electronics Show. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you happen to remember any of the manufacturers?
No,
I've done searches and stuff. I've looked.
I'm gonna have to look around. I forget what they're called, but there's some of those out there where they actually come. I think you can get them with the camera integrated, and
okay.
some of them even have the de-warping software built in. So it'll take the warp that occurs because of the shape of that reflector, and it'll map it out into a 2D Cartesian plane.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that what? Oh God, he's got the little clear plastic ball that
yeah, Orbi.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's. I don't know if he's doing that, but.
Hey Ray, have you thought about using a 360 camera? Perhaps get a used one off of eBay. Because they do you can get a live video stream from a 360 camera.
Yeah, they're a little expensive though, aren't they? Like maybe $140 on up. I've seen.
Yeah, I was just thinking about someone might be selling a used one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought about that. Maybe just getting, 2 wide-angle cameras, cheap ones, and sticking them back to back to try to, simulate that. It may not give me, it obviously isn't going to stitch it together for me and flatten it out. But yeah, I was just looking for something, really inexpensive to do something like this. But anyway, so that's what I've been working on. I 3D printed this little adapter and just tried to see if it was going to be functional at all. And I'd say for short distances it'll probably work. I wanted, instead of markers being 20 feet apart, I wanted them more like 50 feet apart, and still be able to to have them be large enough in an image to be able to track and stuff like that. So anyway, so that is, I guess I just hit stop sharing.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you have any problem with the PixieCam lens outside?
No, I know one of the things you can do, there's like there's like a little gear for settings icon. You select that, you can reduce down, there's like a minimum brightness and then camera brightness.
Okay.
And I think initially a lot of the guys, like for Robo Magellan, Robo Columbus, whatever it was called in the past, actually stuck circular polarizers on the front to try to reduce the amount of light that came in through the lens.
Oh, really?
But I think, yeah, later PixieCam software, they gave you the option to change that. And I've had it outside. Okay. Well, thanks, Ross. I'll take a look at that. Anyway, so I didn't have any issue with it. I don't have any kind of polarizer on it, or so you can actually dim it back or dim it down.
Okay, I'd like to see your settings because I've always struggled with that.
Yeah, well, even doing, 6-can or can soccer, you can play with those settings in the, in our little room, which, depending where we set up the course, you can have some weird lighting conditions or effects.
Yeah, Scott Gibson actually uses a Pixie on his rover, if I'm not mistaken, and he has he uses a light sensor to adjust dynamically the Pixie's brightness setting. So you can, otherwise you have access to the brightness, setting the brightness. So what he does is he has an external sensor that determines the brightness value, and then he manipulates it and then feeds it into the Pixie.
That would probably fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can be pretty sensitive. Like if you take it outside, it doesn't. Oh wow, that's another good note there. Okay, thank you, Carl.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know if you guys are interested in this kind of stuff, but yeah, I've always wanted something like that. And I've seen, well, I guess the other part of it, if it has a 12mm barrel, kind of like all that's I don't know if it's a standard, but it seems to be a pretty common size for the threaded portion of the lens where you screw it into a lens.
They're from CCTVs. Yeah, they're security camera standard.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay, yeah.
At least that, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that was all I had. I did, like I said, I did have some videos, and I can probably recreate them just to show that it'll move around and actually mow. So
cool. All right. Well, thanks, Ray. That's pretty cool. All right, so let's keep going. Ross, I think you and your brother David have an update on the RTK robot.
Yeah, we've been working on the power system. I say David has been working on the power system, and I've been working on software. And let me share my screen. So I'm not sure if you can see. Okay, it's presenting now.
You're presenting.
So are you looking at a white bodied robot?
Yeah,
we see it.
So that's the robot I presented a few, I forget how long ago it was. We presented this, and it uses RTK, uses the base station with a little RTK board from U-Blocks, just for the people that weren't there. And so my brother's been working, he's working on the hardware, and I've been working on the software. Software is actually in Unity, just to refresh people's memories, and I demonstrated the thing could do striping, and it could basically be a system to control a security robot or a robot mower, and it can go from waypoints, and here I've got it in Unity. I can provide telemetry, visual telemetry of where the robot went and how good it was at hitting the waypoints. I've got a lot better at coming up with an accurate heading now. So, but just as I really cracked the nut on getting an accurate heading, and I ran into some problems, and fortunately, David is he's a guru when it comes to hardware, and the problems I was having was, let me find the picture of the specific problem I was having. I was having a couple of problems. One problem was the power supply to the Pi, Raspberry Pi, was so worn out from moving. These robots move around, and so cables and things get jostled, and the Pi connector, the power connector, mini USB, it seems like it gets worn out pretty quickly. So David soldered a power bleed on there for me. He also, let's see if I can find the right picture. Yeah, he also created what do you call this? A shield, basically that can snap onto the Pi. And what was happening was the IMU cables were becoming loose, and just the vibration from moving the robot around, the IMU would get stuck, and the robot was having terrible problems with that. So David has fixed that for me. The other problem I was having was charging. So this robot has 3 batteries, and you can see the 3 batteries here. And I was having to take out the 3 batteries and charge them individually, and all the load was actually going on the first battery, so it'd run down fairly quickly. So David's got a new system here, and he can jump in and talk about this as well. That actually loads. I can now, with a single cable, charge all 3 batteries with this particular charger I bought. It can do up to 6 cells. Those 3 batteries have 2 cells each, so this can load balance all the cells at the same time. And you also put a meter on there, so I could see what the voltage was, and I could tell. Sometimes when the robot was playing up, I was trying. Well, is it because the voltage is low? Again, you guys know I'm not a hardware guy, so to me this is my first robotics project. But this clearly shows it's got enough voltage, which is good. And underneath here, let's see if I can pull up the picture. David, you're on. Do you want to talk about these components here that you added to the robot? David Osborne, do you know how to unmute you? Is he still on? He is.
He's there.
He is. You click at the bottom of the screen, David, and a pop-up slides up, and then unmute.
I'll bet it's a software problem.
Oh well. So these are basically power controllers to deal with the additional voltage. So the folks that weren't at the presentation, I'm actually using a PC, Windows PC here. It's a mini PC, and so the mini PC requires a fair amount of juice. So it basically is powering the PC is powering the Raspberry Pi, and is powering the ESCs on this robot. The robot's actually built from a monster truck, RC car. So I guess David has not got his mute figured out, or it doesn't have sound going on right now. But anyway, that's where we're at. Also, I do have an update on the software. I've been building. If you guys can see that, I've been building a mobile app to control the robot. Again, this is designed for doing robotic mowing specifically. And so, once someone gets past the registration and selects which area you're at, and you have to set a home position where the robot mower would charge. You set the home position; it knows how to get back there. And then at that point, you can choose a path to follow, or an area. Let's choose an area right now. Again, this is just a mock-up of a design of of how to control the robot, and then you use a game controller to start remote controlling the robot to kind of design or go around the boundary of the area the robot needs to stay within. So once you hit stop on that, or you finish recording, it's mapped out the area that you want the robot to stay within. And at that point, you can select either random mowing, striping, just follow the boundary. You can go to a waypoint, or you can go home. And then you hit play here to actually run the robot at that point to do whatever. In this case, it will be a boundary run. And the same thing with the path. You can select a path and create a new path and decide which direction you want to go. front to back, or from the end to the start, or just go round trip. So this is what I've been working on, and I'm probably going to use Google's Firebase real-time database to actually communicate between the robot, the kind of the mobile app and the robot itself. So that's what's been keeping me busy during this lockdown.
Yep, that'll keep you busy. What platform are you going to use for the mobile app?
It's actually going to be Unity, because I'm really familiar with Unity, and also the robot app, remember, is written in Unity. So in fact, today I just sent off to Fiverr to get bids on the design I just showed you. Actually, there's probably 5 times as more screens. I didn't show you all of them, but I've sent that off to Fiverr to get people to bid on building it in Unity, and then I'll go in and just wire it up. It takes a long time to build UIs. It took me a long time to design this, and so I thought, why not give somebody else the work?
Yeah, cool.
How much did the RTK GPS stuff cost?
Those 2 boards were $500. There's a board in here. This is the antenna for it. This antenna communicates with the other board I showed you. This is the GPS antenna that goes with it. So it's about $500. I think it may be cheaper now because we bought those about 18 months ago.
Okay.
And interestingly enough, there's a new version from uBlocks, and that doesn't require the base station. There's a nationwide service you can subscribe to, which basically sends out the corrections to the GPS. And I haven't tried that yet, but it would be very interesting to try it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, good question.
I have a little tip. Okay, Russ, you've solved your problem. You don't need it, but let me, you mentioned how putting power to the Raspberry Pi can be a little bit harder than a person just sticking a cable in. But let's see if I can get my picture up here on the screen. I don't know if you all can see this. Let me get it. Where is it? Okay.
You have to turn on your presenting.
Okay, presenting. Well, actually,
I can see your camera. There you go.
Okay,
yeah.
This is a mini to a Type 2 connector that's meant to be on a normal USB 2. You just stick it in the end of this fat end into a USB, and then it converts it to a mini. But
that's clever.
But all the pins are exposed, and so what you can do. I don't know if I can do this here.
So is it like a power plug?
Yeah. See if let's see. I don't know if I can show. God dang it! Can't.
It's just hard to hold.
It's hard to hold. Okay, let me see if I can.
We got your shirt at the moment. There we go.
Okay. All right. So let me see if I can get it. Okay. So using a little bit of heat shrink and a tie wrap, you can really make that into a neat connection, which you can just plug into your Pi. So, and those things are like, 25 cents a piece or something like that.
And you can actually, can you power the Pi from like the pins that are on the board?
Now this is probably for a 3, because the 4 uses a Type C, and I haven't.
Okay.
I don't know if a Type C connect. What you would use there is let me get one of those. Type C.
Now, my question, Doug, was: can you power the Raspberry Pi from the onboard pins that they're on the Pi? Some of the other boards for hobbyists, you can power them.
Yeah, the problem that I always like to use the USB port when I can.
Yeah.
The reason for that is the additional protection that's on the board.
I see.
If you bypass all of that stuff and then you accidentally put an overvoltage to it,
Yeah.
Pi's history. And Pi can't take any overvoltages. Well, you know, you can't take 13 volts, for example. I mean, it would definitely be dead. But this type here is where, God, I can't. This type would be great for, but you can get a similar converter for usually from a micro to a USB 3. And those, you just open up the case and.
Well, in the future, one of the things I'm interested in playing with, and I asked Harold about his Latte Panda. So I'm thinking of buying a Latte Panda to experiment with, you know, putting my Unity app onto there. The other thing that I require is something that can do machine learning inference. So it's got to be fairly powerful. The new Alpha, I think, and Delta Latte Pandas apparently are pretty powerful. So I was curious to see, he didn't get an Alpha or Delta. He got one of the earlier Latte Pandas, but I'd be curious to see how well they do. They can handle the load of, you know, kind of the modern kind of these robots that require machine learning to guide them.
Yeah. Like I say, that's such a changing field. I mean, what was cool 6 months ago is kind of, you know, so I will have a cautionary tale. You know, you know, Omar, you know, he's with his little ball robot. I think he's like on his third microprocessor, because every time he'd commit to one, whoever, you know, was, whether it was Intel or somebody else, would stop making it, and he had to go completely over again. So, you know, so if you're talking about, you know, a commercial, I don't know, that's gonna, I don't know if that market, you're gonna just have to take, you know, pick one that sounds good and go for it. I don't think you can. I don't think you can plan what's going to be the fastest or the best.
Yeah, well, the Latte Panda seems to be one of the few kind of, I guess, microcomputer or small computer that can run Windows 10.
Yeah.
And have all the I/O pins. It's got an onboard Arduino that it can talk to, and then you get all the I2C capability, you know, from a Windows machine. So anyway,
but have you just thought about just buying an Intel mini computer? I mean,
well, that's what's on there right now.
Yeah, but
it's heavy. So it's pretty heavy. Draws a lot of power.
So there's another option. Have you seen the Yocto Linux based things that Clay Montgomery guy does in town here?
No.
Okay, so let's see. Long story short, he has a, I guess, thriving business that he stood up. He has looked at a bunch of these small embeddable kinds of computers with a wide range of compute power, from pretty basic to pretty powerful. He's got a whole bunch of, but he's reviewed them from the sense that this series that he's found, he will advocate, has got, since it's open source, it's multi-vendor, it's got a long history, and it's got a long future. So he advocates it. It's the only platform that he builds on for his commercial products, because he can build once, deploy across a wide variety of things, and he can support them out in the market for a long time. So I can look up his contact if you like it. He is a Yocto Linux guy, but so I don't know about what he has to say about Windows, but he'd be a good resource for what you're looking at, I think.
Yeah, I'd actually like to choose a Linux platform, but unfortunately, Unity being a cross-platform product, there is this very small gap in its coverage, and that small gap is Linux. You can run the editor for Unity on a Linux platform, but you cannot deploy apps for Linux with the you can deploy it. It's basically the ARM processor that's the problem. So I'd love to use a Jetson Nano or Jetson Javier or how it's pronounced. Those platforms are really good, but I'm waiting for Unity basically to support those platforms in an app form. Right now, those platforms have to run Android. If it runs Android, it'll support it. It's just basically Unity is not aiming at the kind of robotics market.
Not yet. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ross,
Ross, have you ever
batteries. Oh,
Go ahead.
I'm assuming they're lithium ion and there are 3 of them in series.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have a load off the one that I'm assuming it's the one that produces the highest voltage in the series? Do you have a separate load on it?
Well, this is a question for David to answer, but for some reason he says no.
Okay, good. Yeah, this is a weird thing. I had a battery pack, and it seemed like I guess call it the top one in this, of 3 in series. It would discharge and be, end up with a lower voltage than the other 2, even though they all had the same current going through them. So I wondered if maybe you would experience that as well, or if anybody else had, where same series current, but the whatever you want to call it, the first cell in series wore down quicker than the other 2 for some reason. Anybody else experience that?
Right, yeah, that's the internal resistance of the cell. It's causing that. And if you were using 3, say 16, what are they called, 18650s, you probably find that problem to be pretty, especially if they're used, you're going to find a big problem. If you're using a pack, you can get around some of it by balancing, but if the cell is not as good, it's just the voltage is going to drop on it faster because the internal resistance is higher.
So you think it's worn out quicker than the other 2, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I think. That's what David's saying in chat, Ray, is that that's why you get chargers to load balance, because if the cells are not matched in their aging or discharge curves, then these balancing chargers, like they put on the Melbourne robot, the RTK robot there, that handles that problem.
Okay, or tries to, yeah.
Yeah, well, to the extent it can.
To the extent that just sets your starting point.
Yeah.
As you use the battery, the weakest cell is going to drop faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same for any chemistry.
Buy a new battery, treat it well, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a balanced charger for a new one, but yeah, I thought that was kind of weird that same current from all 3 cells.
Well, if you really want to see that, just get you some 18650s out of an old laptop, and each one is an individual.
Yeah. Huh. Okay.
Even though they may balance out at the same starting point.
Same voltage. Yeah.
Yeah, same voltage.
Okay.
Cool. So David and Ross, thanks for the update. That's pretty neat.
Sure.
We have about 10 minutes left reserved, and we've lost a handful of people. But before we move on, I just wanted to mention we do have our monthly meeting will be this Saturday, and we have lined up Murray from New Zealand, actually. So he's interested in having a club. He's standing up the New Zealand Personal Robotics Group, be a kind of sister group to the Dallas Personal Robotics Group. So anyhow, he has a pretty cool robot that he's going to present on this Saturday. So I'll get that meetup posted out tomorrow.
Okay. As soon as I get the info, I'll cut it loose.
Yep.
Okay.
Now,
Hey,
for last,
are the
go ahead.
recorded?
What?
Do you know, Carl? Are the chats recorded along with
Yes,
video
the
clips?
chats are recorded as well. So you can just copy and paste them now if you like. But
Yeah, I can put the I'll take the chat. Carl provides me with the chat. This one has a lot of links and stuff, and I'll go ahead and I'll post it in this week's update.
Okay, great.
You know, that way you don't have to, you know where it is. I didn't do it last week because it was just us all saying hi.
just chatting. So we had two more possible things if we wanted to just push the clock. If there was any Stump the Club challenges, this would be a good time. If not, I could give a brief update on what I've been doing.
Sure.
Okay,
So
Carl, what have you been doing?
Any other Stump the Club challenges? No Stump the Club challenges. Okay, we've handled them real time.
Okay, wait a minute. I just want to make sure. I was going to talk to Josh just a second, even though I did it in chat. Is the parts that you get with that little kit that I sent you a link to? You can't buy individually for the price of the kit. So don't even worry about building that robot. Build your own robot, but you can use all of those parts probably, especially if you're building an Arduino robot.
Yeah, I saw that, Doug, and that's very helpful. I'll probably just buy that. It's less expensive and easier to use.
Yeah. And you can always build, if just to start off, you can always build that kit. Okay. And play with it and then go on from there.
Sounds good.
Oh.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, cool. So I'll do a brief update now. So if you guys can see my screen, basically I didn't do that much on robots, but it's some kind of adjacent thing this week. So I have this thing about Bluetooth low energy and little battery powered things, and just trying different gadgets out. So a couple years ago, I got this e-paper display, and it's powered by an 8266 in there. So I wanted to learn how to use e-paper, and I figured there might be a place for it to display something on my robot. And I lost the formula when I changed laptops, but one thing I did this weekend was figure out how to get the Arduino going again on this guy. And actually this one uses Wi-Fi, not BLE. But then the BLE stuff, so this guy came in, this is a bangle.js. And it's a pretty crappy kind of a watch as watches go, even though it has heart rate and GPS. But what's cool about it is that it's JavaScript programmable. So I can connect to it from any browser, like a laptop or a phone, and I can download JavaScript that I write. And I can add those programs to the menu here. And you can see that it's got a little OLED display. But these are some preloaded little things in here. So for example, it's got where those, oops, no rings. Okay, but it's got a level. So anyhow, it's pretty capable if I could know how to control it. It's got a pretty capable little processor in there and decent RAM and stuff. It's all like ST Micro NRF52, I think. So, and it's got accelerometers in there. So, and it's actually got gesture control. So it's got tiny MLs. So you can actually program it to recognize wrist flips and swipes. And it's got a 2-position touch screen. So I can test. I can push either button. And anyhow, it's BLE and it's JavaScript. So my thought was that I could use this as a kind of I could write an app in here in JavaScript, and I could use this as a start-stop for my robot, or as the dead man switch for my robot, or just as a display to monitor telemetry and such. So anyhow, fun little gadget. And it's in the Espruino family. So I've had these around before. So This one is also Esperino. You can see the NRF52 module, but he's stacked it with a button cell and a display. So, you know, it's like an Arduino form factor, and now you can, you're going to give it more power, but, oh, my camera stopped, didn't it? Okay, so you can't see that, but anyhow, that's what I've been working on is dusting off those old projects and getting them to where I can start to interface them with my current robots and send data back and forth over BLE to my watch.
So do you have enough projects to keep you busy, or you think they'll run out, or?
I mean, on top of my day job, this is what I do in the evenings and weekends.
Oh, wow.
So it's a lot easier to shop than it is to make something work, unfortunately.
That's true. Yeah.
So I've spent too much time shopping and not enough time making things work. But, well, let's see. Let's see. Next week, I think we'll spend on the robot. And my goal is to get the donkey car software running on the club robot base.
Okay.
I'm ready to, that's my goal, at least to work towards that for next week. Enough of this BLE stuff. Okay, well, that's all I had. Thanks for humoring me. But yeah, so we have this Saturday. It'll be a little later. It'll be 1 o'clock because that's 7 in the morning on the Sunday. Our 1 o'clock on the Saturday afternoon in Dallas is 7 in the morning on a Sunday in New Zealand. So that's why we'll do 1 o'clock instead of noon this Saturday. But okay, Josh is asking, what's the club robot base? Josh, maybe next week we'll pull up a picture or video and show you. But in 2016, the DPRG club here, some guys did a really cool job, and they made a kit of which 22 people bought the kits, and probably a half a dozen or a dozen of them got assembled, more or less. And the whole idea was that it could be for like 160 bucks. You'd have a pretty capable robot that you could then hack on and extend and use towards different contests that we have in the club. So maybe we can show you more about that next week if you remind us. Okay, Josh says okay by chat. So having said that, wow, it's still 10 people in line. We've now chewed up another hour and a half of our quarantine time, so that's good. No robots have been killed, and no robots have been harmed in the making of this online web meeting. So let's see. So I propose, if there's nothing else that anyone would like to talk about, then we could call it a wrap for another virtual Builders Night Out, and we can just catch up next weekend, or this coming weekend and the following Tuesday. So
okay,
sounds good, Colin.
So be on the lookout for web news or meetup news on the meeting this Saturday.
Coming tomorrow.
Yep. Okay.
Good deal, guys. Thanks.
Bye.
Have a good night.
See you guys. Bye.
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 Bye.